Mr. President, today, the family of Tyre Nichols will celebrate the life of a 29-year-old man who was brutally killed by police earlier this month. In the wake of this tragedy, we've heard the predictable renewed calls for police reform legislation here in Congress, something that we attempted not that long ago. In the summer of 2020, senators from both parties introduced police reform bills to other high-profile tragedies, like the George Floyd murder. Senator Tim Scott on our side, the senator from South Carolina, led those efforts, and I was proud to work with him in crafting something called the Justice Act that would reform, retrain, and restore trust in America's police officers, something I believe is very important. This package of bills included a number of initiatives to improve accountability and transparency and deliver real change to our communities across the country. I remember after the George Floyd murder, I asked my friends, the mayor of Houston and the mayor of Dallas, if they would assemble a group of community leaders so I could better understand what the relationship was, particularly between communities of color and the police in those cities. And it was pretty eye-opening. While many young people and many not so young people are raised to believe that the police are their friend and somebody you can depend on and call if you're in trouble, in some communities there's a lack of trust and confidence in the police because of a very different experience that they've had in those communities. I believe there still is a broad bipartisan appetite for these types of reforms that were included in the Justice Act, and I was optimistic that we could at the time pass a police reform bill that was desperately needed. But when Leader McConnell tried to bring that bill to the floor, our Democratic colleagues blocked it. That's right, they blocked it. They refused to allow the Senate to even debate or consider this legislation. Strangely enough, this package included a bill, included by Senator Booker and then Senator Kamala Harris, to make lynching a federal crime. But they voted to block consideration of the bill that included their bill to make lynching a federal crime. It just didn't make any sense to me then, and it doesn't make any sense to me now. This would have strengthened the use and accountability for body cameras. Now I'm talking about the bigger bill now, of course. Improve access to de-escalation training and duty to intervene training, and establish 2 commissions to give us better understanding and recommendations on the challenges that need to be addressed in the long run. But as I said, our colleagues across the aisle blocked it. This important point is worth remembering now as our Democratic colleagues renew their call for police reform. Now, in light of the filibuster of the Justice Act, I introduced a standalone bill that included de-escalation provisions from Senator Scott's legislation. And I worked with my colleague, Senator Whitehouse, on a bipartisan bill that was signed into law last December. So at least that piece of the Justice Act did become law, signed into law by President Biden. De-escalation training is very important. That doesn't mean that rogue police officers will always follow their training. Indeed, these officers, if they were trained to de-escalate these conflicts, certainly did not follow their training. And they will be held accountable, as they should be, by the prosecutors who will bring charges against them. But it bears repeating that Republicans tried to bring a police reform bill to the floor 2.5 years ago, and our Democratic colleagues stood in the way.